Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Racing Club International for round 2 of the Multi-Sprint Series Season 3 on Le Mans Ultimate, the official game of the FIA World Endurance Championship. Tonight, we swap the rolling hills of Spa for the Lone Star State and the circuit of the Americas. This 5.5-kilometer modern classic serves up flowing S's, heavy braking zones, and a monster back straight, perfect territory for the high-speed multi-class racing. Our grid is stacked once again with hypercars and LMGT3s sharing the stage, bringing some true WEC flavour to the sprint format. Last time out, young Louis Curtin stormed to a dominant hypercar victory, while Christoph Verstappen triumphed in LMGT3 after a fierce fight with Carlos Calatayud. And also, don't forget Martin Lawrence, who stunned the paddock by climbing from P15 on the grid to finish third in class. I'm John Dalton. Joining me on both broadcasting and commentary duties, pulling the double duty once again tonight, is Ted Edwards, and we're getting ready for another thrilling evening of multi-class racing here at COTA.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, John. This COTA's not my favourite track. I just never got on with it. You know, it's very technical, especially through the S's after turn 1. Turn 1 itself is technical, you see in the background. The AMG Mercedes having a wiggle out of the tight left-hander onto the back straight, and Verstappen overtaking a BMW. And getting punted by the BMW under braking. That's not going to help his qualifying lap, and maybe a bit of rear damage. But yeah, it is. Look at that. That's unfortunate. There. See if he went off track there, so hopefully he keeps his lap and gets one in. Got about 5.5 minutes left for the GT3s until we get onto the hypercars. But yeah, it's very technical, especially when we come through here. What's this? I don't know what is this stadium section, John? I'm going to call it stadium. It sounds about right, but it's very tricky. Especially this right-hander. It's a double apex, and sometimes you can go flat out. Sometimes you have to lift and try and keep it together. As I say that, Verstappen just taking out the advertising boards.
Yeah, not what you want there on your hunt to the pole position. Christoph Verstappen getting caught out by the slightly damp conditions, I think, at the moment, Ted. We are seeing drivers with rain lights and wipers on, so there is some kind of moisture out there at the moment, but it does look relatively dry from up here in the comms box. So we're slipping and sliding our way around the final part of the lap with Raphael Huell. Obviously the Porsche, the rear engine over the rear axle, going to provide for some excellent traction as he comes through turn number 19 to try and get himself towards the top end of the grid. Of course, standings currently on the left of your screen with tire choices. Everybody on a wet tire, so it's wet enough to pull out the wet tires essentially, rather than gambling on the slicks. And it's a 2:15.854 for Raphael Huell. That puts him down in P5, not too far off the top time. It's currently a 2:15.571 from Carlos Calatayud. Philip Register straight to the line though, bests that with a 2:15.446. The Brabham Esports driver there getting his teeth stuck in. And already back to Martin Lawrence, the man who qualified P15 last time out, already up into P4. Target time to beat is a 2:15.446 set by his Czech rival. However, of course, not going to be an easy one. Already 0.6 down in the first sector, Ted, as he comes towards the middle part here.
Yeah, well, it looks like there's rain on the windscreen, so there might be rain here. I can check quickly in this menu. Oh, it's not actually showing me the weather this time around. They might have changed that, so we actually don't know if it's raining or not. But I did see that there someone was on the mediums, and that was Frank Forrest. Oh, someone was on the mediums, and it was Frank.
Maybe a slight glitch on the old overlays being doing us dirty there. Roy Becky showing us as a medium on the screen you were just on, Ted, there with the timing board in the pits. So bit of an interesting one. We see the first major mistake coming out really from Frank Forrest as he navigates his way through turn number 9. A little bit too much inside curb, upset the BMW, and of course a bit of an instant torque machine as the M4, and backwards he went through turn number 9. So that's not going to be good for his wet tyres. As Ted alluded to earlier on, it is, of course, a split qualifying session here. 20 minutes on the clock. The first 10 minutes are reserved to the LMGT3 cars. We're calling this phase 1 before we, of course, head to phase 2, which switches at the 10-minute mark, where hypercars can, of course, begin their fast runs. GT3 cars can finish any lap they've started before the 10-minute mark, but after completing, they must head back to the garage as soon as it's safe to do so, and of course not impede anyone else already on a fast lap or hypercars beginning their quick laps. As Philip Brewster through the last sector pulls off to the pit lane, already down on his time 0.8 in the first, 0.8 in the second, and a big slide as he comes towards the pit entry limiter line. And this man here, Ted, Christopher Streppen, has everything to do in the dying stages. Not even a valid time on the board after winning last time out at Spa.
No, obviously we saw him get a little bit of a rear end punt coming off the back straight. Really wiggly. I've seen all these cars from the rookies up to the professional drivers here struggling with the grip, even though they've got wet tyres on, even though it's not even raining much. I think there is like a little drizzle that we can't actually see on the camera, but when we looked inside the cockpit there you can see on the windscreen there was dots of rain, so it's not much, but track is damp. It was confirmed earlier on when people were practicing that there was it's going to be interesting. So I have to see how it goes really, and see which car is the wet weather specialist in this sim, because obviously we know from Assetto Corsa, Competiciones and iRacing there are certain cars that do well in those sims in rain, and we just have to find out which one here is the best. Now, it might turn out, John, that they're all really good in the rain and they're all evenly balanced, and that would be something that we've been praying for a long time, because I don't like to choose the best car all the time. I like to choose the car that I want to drive, and that, you know, sounds nice for me, which would be the Mustang, which we don't actually have any Mustangs this season, which is a shame. Same with Cadillacs. No Cadillacs. Very disappointed, but it's going to be tricky now. 5 seconds till the hypercars can go. This is going to be for Streppen's last lap. He's up on his own times from his sectors before. Ninth place is surprising.
Yeah, P9 is all the Belgian driver managed in this session, of course. Checker flag out, so drivers can finish any valid lap they're on currently. Ryan Walker, 2.2 seconds off in Sector 1. He's had a bit of a moment. I don't think this one is going to be faster than his personal best as he overcooks it down at the bottom of the straight. Turn 12 runs very wide indeed. 2.5 seconds on that one. I think it's going to be a big enough lift to keep it valid, though. But going back to your point, interesting to note, of course, Keith Whittle, as he comes across the line. It was a valid time, sorry. P18, 6.7 seconds off the top time set by Philip Brewster. Kevin Boss across the line. P15 for Kevin Boss. First round we see him in the Friday Sprint Championship. And it looks like Philip Brewster for Brabham Esports has done just about enough to claw on. I don't think anybody else is going to go quicker in the LMGT3 category. So Lexus to pole in America. Carlos Calatayud, Mr. Consistent, up in there as well. Townsend P3, Martin Lawrence P4. So a good stepping stone this time out for Martin Lawrence, Ted. It could be a very interesting next hour ahead for the Czech driver. Of course, we're used to seeing Martin Lawrence and Philip Brewster on the same team. They've, well known within the RCI community, teammates from the esports side of things. So seeing them now going toe-to-toe, of course, Philip Brewster for the Brabham Esports camp now, and Martin Lawrence staying with us at RCI Esports. It's gloves off, I would say, at this point between the two Czech drivers, and I think there's going to be quite a hard fight tonight for that top step of the podium.
Yeah, sure is, John. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I'm looking forward to this battle here with these drivers as we're on board with Zeno right now. I want to see. Oh, we don't have. Oh, do we have Louis? Yeah, Louis is here in 12th at the minute. So obviously they've all just finished doing their out laps. Hopefully they can get the tyres warm enough. I believe they are all on the wet tyre. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, hello. That was a massive slide by the Peugeot there, coming out of turn 1. Very tight corner. You want to go wide to then hit the apex and then go wide again. And looks like Zeno didn't really get that or follow the book on that one. So very slippy indeed. But we'll just have to wait to see what times come out. Obviously, purple sector 1, but we'll have to wait until someone does a time. It's going to be interesting to see what hypercar is good. Now I know this Peugeot with the wang is good in the corners and obviously slow on the straights. Obviously we've got that long back straight and the front straight for these cars to contend with, but through the corners it does have a bit more downforce than others, but just have to wait and see. Michael Badowski had a spin, that's what that yellow flag is, and he returned to pit straight away.
So hypercar drivers also struggling with the mixed conditions at the moment on the circuit. Matthew Malcolm also asking, how does he fix the horrible braking on the Valkyrie? Rear end steps out no matter how much he changes the brake bias. And Billy Octane replying with, it's because the car was made in a shed. Nothing you can do, unfortunately, on that one. So Matthew Malcolm might have a bit of a tricky afternoon, or evening, should we say, ahead of him. Ryan Gill through the last sector. Bit of a different livery than last week. Well spotted. I was about to make the same point. Pink livery for Ryan Gill. So we're not going to mistake him. Last time out, of course, the Bongo Tech cars all in a kind of dark black blue color made it very hard for us up here in the broadcasting booth. So props to them for changing it up a little bit. In the background, a Ferrari getting pretty racy as well, getting a bit dangerous with the old track limits. And you can see already how much faster the Ferrari is through that last sector, using all of the exit on turn number 20 and trying to propel themselves towards the line. Sunyaev initially with the pole position time 204.222, but look at this young gun here. Louis Curtin is up already in the middle sector. Purple is a best overall. Green is, of course, personal best, and the target lap time is nearly a 2:04 flat as Vasily goes quicker as well. Big wiggle on the curb as he fights traction, and it's hurt the lap time somewhere. Louis Curtin very slow through the third sector. He's going to be seeking improvement in the next 5 minutes. About a 2-minute 4 lap, Ted. So 3-ish laps, depending when you just cross the line from this point out. So still plenty of chances to go. Vasily with the quickest time at the moment, 2:04 flat nearly. Sunyaev in the BMW just behind, and Louis Curtin, the closest driver, is to see Matthew Malcolm struggling through that first sector. Big armful of oversteer, 2 seconds down on his personal best already, and some of these mixed conditions really catching out the drives. That's right on board with the Valkyrie. We absolutely love this sound up here in the box, and it probably sounds immense going down the back straight, but you can see how much water is on the windscreen, and it's kind of a bit of a giveaway as to how slick the track is. Big armful of lock to try and wrestle the V12 monster, and all cylinders beginning to fire as he comes out of turn 11 down towards the long drag of the back straight. Let's just give it a moment here. We do love the Aston up here in the box. A big V12 fan from ACC myself, always picking the V12 Vantage over any other car in the game, just because, like you said earlier, Ted, it sounds good. As Matthew Malcolm through the middle section, 2 seconds down again on his personal best. So pretty consistent across the lap, but Aston Martin looks very tricky in these conditions at the moment, Ted. You can see how much the front end just wants to push as it heads through turn 12, cranking on more lock, but sometimes that's not always the best thing to do in these conditions. And Matthew Malcolm, I'd say, really struggling right now.
You got to remember, these cars don't have hybrid system. It is just full V12, so it's not even the boost that's making this car slip. It's the raw power to the rear wheels that is really pushing that rear end down, because you can see from the wheel, is like here, he's really giving it the beans. Where's going to end up? His first valid lap, 13th after all that. It's very tricky. Oh, Vasily, Curtin to top.
So a very late lap there from Louis Curtin. Vasily, I believe, was still top when Curtin crossed the line, but just about making it to the top step provisionally. Just under 3 minutes on the clock, so we're cutting it fine if we do want to do any more kind of in and out laps.
Vasily and Sunyaev, they're both on their out laps now. Curtin is obviously, we just seen, is back in the pit lane, so I don't think Curtin will come back out to do another lap. If they do, it's going to be very close. Everyone else still out on track. Marco Badowski still needs to get a lap in. He just got a lap in, 6th place. 205. 205.269. So very nice lap. Louis Curtin out on track again. So thinking, not much time between Curtin and Vaselli. He's thinking, I need to get a better lap in. But I don't know if the tracks got wetter. Because these cars are struggling.
Yeah, been watching Van der Vecken through the kind of first 2/3 of the lap, and he's really struggling to keep that Ferrari on the straight and narrow between the white lines. And I'm not sure if he's just struggling maybe with tyre fall off in this kind of late stage, or we're catching odd wet patches here and there, but something is definitely awry with that car. Ryan Gill in the background, of course, chasing down sister Aston Martin kind of honours, should we say, overall. Klaus Nyring 1.3 seconds off the back of Olivia Curtin. Ryan Gill currently targeting a 2:03.942 for pole. It's not going to be pole. Big wiggle, big amount of time loss as he runs over the curb, and 1.4 seconds down in that final sector. 2:07 for Ryan Gill as Martin Vaselli begins, I think, his first, not his first lap, should I say, another flying lap here. Coming down the back straight indeed. It looked almost like turn number 1, but it's actually turn 11 as he jumps on the loud pedal, accelerating down, of course, to turn number 12, the big braking zone at this circuit. Lots of passing opportunity, of course. There's a speed difference and a big wiggle under braking. Just about manages to keep that Ferrari kind of controlled as he heads out towards what we're dubbing the stadium section of turn 13, 14. Comes at you quite quickly. Double apex right-hander before you straighten the steering for the run towards turn 15. Again, a good passing place. If the door is open, it can be quite risky if the GT3s are preparing to turn in. And suddenly there's a hypercar on their inside, and now opening up the loud pedal once again through 17 and 18 easily. A little lift in bone dry conditions, but certainly twitching the throttle a little bit as they come through the double apex right-hander through turn number 19 before we get on the brakes for turn number 20. And Martin Vaselli looking good already. Personal best in the middle, a little bit down on the first. Across the line he comes, and it's good enough for pole, but only just about. And Louis Curtin, we know he left the pit lane, I think you said, Ted. He is out there circulating on a lower fuel run, should we say, because he left with about 3 minutes to go. So that's an outlap. That's an outlap and a flyer. So there's not going to be a lot of fuel in that Ferrari. It's going to be on its kind of limit of weight. It's going to be so low, and maybe even dialing out a little bit of downforce to try and get the straight line speed. But Max Sunyaev, the next car across the line in the BMW V8 hybrid, will he be good enough to trump Vaselli, or will it be Curtin that separates them? There's still a bit of time and very wide out of 18. That's going to be a track limits and lap done there. The clock has already hit 0, so no time to go for another one. And sensibly pulls over, gives up the ghost, and back to the pit lane he will go. What could have been on that lap? It was looking so strong in the early stages as Marco Badowski begins his run through the stadium section. Down already, Ted, in first and second. Unless he's got a very big gain to come in the third, I think P5 where we see Badowski. But personal best for Louis Curtin through the middle sector, nearly half a second up overall. It was a little bit of a loss in the first, but he certainly clawed that back with that lower fuel. He's only got a few more corners to make it right. Turn number 19, and I think it might have been a little bit too wide, but he's continuing on anyway as he heads towards turn number 20. The last-ditch effort to try and take the pole position over the curb, wrestling the car, and it's good enough for pole. Louis Curtin getting the pole position in the final stages of 2:03.415, a celebratory 360 as he crosses the line. I think phaser cooling, but Martin Vaselli still on a valid lap as he gets a big wiggle now out of turn number 19. He bails to the pit lane and thinks better of it. So Louis Curtin towards the top of the board. Does it once again. Martin Vaselli, no answer in the sister Ferrari, but we saw a few late-ditch efforts there. Christopher Streppen being one of them in LMGT3, and Louis Curtin in the hypercar category. As we have a quick rundown here. Another dominant lap, Ted, well put. And if anything, last week is anything to go by, all eyes on the young Belgian driver. Father Olivia are going to be very happy watching at home there. And a big shout out to the Curtains if you are watching. I know sometimes it's a family affair when we get sim racing here. So big hello to you guys and, of course, to anyone at home. But Louis Curtin takes pole position. Martin Vaselli, a big gap back to him, 0.424. Max Sunyaev next up. What could have been on that last lap, 0.8 down. And then a big gap back to the first Aston Martin of Klaus Nyring. 1.4 seconds is what that no hybrid system could cost you here at COTA. Badowski 1.8 down, Milan van der Vecken nearly 2 seconds off, but Zeno van Drijs, we saw those two battling last time out at Spa. All eyes on those. Martin Mara the first of the Toyotas, 2.5 seconds nearly off the top of the pace, and Reese Wilkinson 3 seconds down. Yanyo on 3.2 just rounds out your top 10 in the sole Alpine, I've just noticed there. As we come to the second page, Ryan Gill, P11, Yannick Sedlar, P12, Aurelius Partes, P13, Billy Octane, P14, and Matthew Malcolm, P15. The Astons really struggling here in the mixed conditions at COTA. And then the LMGT3 times, of course, we saw those guys in phase one. Philip Bregster with the pole position here, a 2:15.446. So nearly 11 seconds separate the hypercars from the LMGT3s. Carlos Calatayud looking to make it Mr. Consistency with another P2 here, the same out as we saw last time at Spa. Matt Townsend in P3 alongside him, Martin Lawrence. Keep your eye on the Czech duo towards the front to see how they'll progress through the field. James Cowley, not too far off the back of those guys in P5. Raphael Huell will start alongside him. Brenoise Olivier, nearly a second off the back in the first of the Corvettes that we see here. Theobald Roscan, 1.4 seconds to the good. Christopher Streppen looking to do a Martin Lawrence, I would say, the same from last week, but starting a little bit further forward than the P15 that was for Lawrence. And Callum Kerrigan sneaks inside the top 10, just under 2 seconds separate the top 10 there. And then we see Richard Whittle, followed by Tom Shipston. Voister Rybecki in another BMW, although a big gap back to P13. That's 4.1 seconds down. So some drivers really struggling, I would say, in these mixed conditions in both classes. Frank Forrest in P14. Kevin Boss, the first time we see him on the grid in P15. Ryan Walker, P16. Martin Manjarek on P17. Lance Taylor, P18. And then the second of the Whittles, Keith Whittle, rounds out P19 in LMGT3. A very strong field today here, Ted. We see, of course, drivers on the starting grid at the moment. Just pay attention to some of the names you're going to be seeing towards the front and some of the fights that we're going to see. But multi-class racing, as always, Ted, traffic management will be key here. And in these mixed conditions, it makes a lot of these cars very unpredictable under braking, and especially in that mid-corner.
Yeah, well, the sun's come out a little bit, John, since qualifying, so I wonder if it's going to start drying up, and I wonder if they have to switch onto the medium tyres. As you can see here in the standing order, starting order, sorry, that the yellow wall on these previews is the medium tyre, and as you can see on the cars in the background, they've got blue, which is the wets, and obviously, if they go for softs, which I'm not sure if there is softs here, then they would be red, and obviously if they want hards, it'd be white, I do believe. So I have to keep an eye out for them. Obviously GT3s are a little bit different. They only have mediums or wets, so we'll have to keep an eye on what tyres they go to. Obviously they're on the Goodyear tyres still compared to the, I believe, the Michelins, John, that the hypercars have.
Yeah, they are Michelin's in the hypercar category, and a good thing to note on tires for this championship: each driver has an allocation of 8 slick tires, so that's 2 full sets to use across qualifying and the race. You can of course mix and match, as we saw last time out at Spa. A few drivers electing to take a front left as a soft and keep the rest of the medium. And of course, wet tires are unlimited if the conditions do allow for them. So plenty of wet running to be had in qualifying, of course, that we just saw. And as you said, Ted, a lot of the drivers already on those blue wall tyres for the start. So it's at least wet enough to make the wets work. So we'll have to see who blinks and makes the first change to dries. As you said, the sun has come out. It does look a little bit brighter than what we saw just now. Some drivers trying to get as much heat into the tyres as possible, getting ready for the start. That's Max Sunyaev on the second row of the grid on the inside. Of course, the left side of the grid, as you sit in the car, will prevail. The first corner is a left-hander. But again, the crisscross nature of the S's, turns 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They come at you very fast before we hit 7, 8, and 9 to slow down the pace a little bit before we head out the back of the section, head out the back of the course, sorry, towards turn number 11. Louis Curtin on the front of the grid, Vasily alongside him, Sunyaev just behind, and once again we've already got another driver darting to the middle, as we saw cause the chaos in Spa. Drivers 3 abreast in the background trying to cover off the inside Louis Curtin, but Max Sunyaev looks like he's got a better start in that BMW V8 hybrid up towards the inside, elbowing Louis Curtin almost over the damp curb, trying to slow up his escape, but they're going to go toe to toe as they head towards the S's. There's a hip check from Sunyaev. Louis Curtin has to go the long way around of turn number 2, and he just about manages it. Somehow the young Belgian driver leads as they head through the S's, but Max Sunyaev isn't done yet. He's trying to get the nose of that BMW up the inside, clattering over the curb with the Ferraris in the background. That's Badowski, I believe, and Vasily also sticking with them. Van Drijcher in the Peugeot is already up to P5. Nyring dropping to P6 as they head down towards turn 11. It's already Sunyaev darting towards the inside, trying to open up that corner, and already the BMW is jumping on the power that little bit earlier, but the hybrid of the Ferrari pulls it clear of the corner once again, and now begins the train as they head down the back straight towards turn 12. It's going to be the last of the late breakers, as we already see the car sparks flying off the back of Sunyaev. Car. He's going to go the long way around of turn number 12. The outside line, will it prevail? Does the old up and under? Louis Curtin runs a bit wide, but he's going to cover off the inside as we head into the stadium section. Turn number 13, it's going to be Louis Curtin's corner for the next 2, but then Sunyaev should prevail as we head towards 15 and 16, and it does, and Vasily in the background could make this a double position drop as there's contact. Louis Curtin into the gravel over the extra AstroTurf, and Vasily now looks round the outside as they head through turn 17 and 18. The corner of turn 19 will become the inside line for Vasily, and just like that, Louis Curtin drops 2 positions on the opening lap, and if he's not careful, Badowski in the background could come with a charge. Ferrari's looking very strong in this early game, but the BMW V8 hybrid leads lap 1 here at COTA. It's Max Sunyaev up 2 positions, but Louis Curtin isn't going to take this one lying down, Ted. He's fired up. He wants to get back to that pole position.
Sure does. Just looking at people in pit lane, we've got Milan van Velken in the pit lane, and Matt Malcolm's in the pit lane due to not having a clutch binded, apparently. So they didn't get going, unfortunately. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not showing the times to the next car, is they're pretty broken right now. I'm not sure why they're broken. So we are gonna wing this, John. At least we know who's who.
That's some big gaps there. 25,000 seconds up. That's big.
Yeah, it's balked. So we are gonna do our usual thing when things break, is we're gonna wing it.
In typical RCI fashion, I think we should do that. Why not? As we head out on towards the back straight once again, Sunyaev with a little bit of a lead this time over Vasily, but still Olivier Curtin tucking in just behind, trying to maximize the slipstream, darting left and right, just trying to put the eye of Vasily off his braking point. And in the background, I think Nyring up the inside of Badowski. I'm not sure how an Aston Martin has made a position gain, but somehow he's certainly done it as they head through turn number 12. And all of this focus on the top guys here, of course, in the hypercar category. I almost forgot on this opening lap, we do have a second category just behind these guys somewhere in the mist, and Philip Brejda looks like he is leading those guys. There's a bit of a battle between Townsend and Kalatiud switching places. Cowley's off to a much better start than we saw last time out at Spa. Remember, that was the Lamborghini we saw backwards up Eau Rouge in the early stages. A flat spotted set of Goodyears to boot, and a bit of a painful race ahead for Cowley, but off to a much better start this time out. The gaps have kind of fixed themselves in hypercar, I'm going to go with, and as we head across the line, it all begins to break again. I have
no idea what is breaking, John. But
have you tried turning it off and on again, Ted?
I have
IT fashion,
that, but it is
still nothing.
It's still balked. So we're going to leave it on the energy screen, and then we'll keep you updated of who we think is close and who we think isn't close. I did see someone, Matt Wilkinson in the pit lane, Milan van der Velken at the back of the pack of all cars, so sitting in P33 right now. We did just see a car out of pit lane, which I would think it is Milan van der Velken because we were on board with the leaders, who is going a bit wide there. Still, oh, they're on the medium tyres, so you can see the yellow ball there. So they're trying a different strategy now. Maybe thinking it's dry enough for the medium, so quite interesting of a strategy there.
I just had to blink twice. I thought I saw somebody in a Glickenhaus then, but it's actually one of the Bongo Tech cars in a turquoise car. I think that's Billy Octane there in P12. But yeah, good to note. Of course, we do have a car circulating on dry tyres, so it's all going to be about the lap time. It's almost a bit of a guinea pig exercise, should we say, to see how that one performs. And flicking back to our LMGT3s, Philip Brejda out by a country mile already in the number 25 Lexus over Carlos Calatayud. It's a little bit more spaced out than what we saw last time out. Of course, Christopher Streppen and Carlos Calatayud fighting basically for the majority of the race until the pit stops did break them up. But just to a few seconds, I think it was only about 4 or 5 seconds separated them at the checkered flag. And Philip Brejda already looks like he's maybe searching for some wet road offline as they head down towards turn 12. I wonder if the circuit is drying out. The wets are beginning to heat up a little bit too much already. Of course, we're only 7 minutes in to the race currently. Still a bit of a longer race than what we're used to. Okay, me and Ted are, normally ACC 1 hour, 65 minutes a stint kind of thing. So we're already pushing that envelope by 20 minutes. And Martin Lawrence down in, I would say P20, but in class, that's going to be a rough P5, Ted.
P7.
P7. So a little bit of a loss for Martin Lawrence, and that puts him behind Christoph Verstappen and, of course, teammates within the RCI Esports camp.
So there you go.
Down 3.
Look at Oliver, though, down at the 17th, down 10 places.
Yeah, Olivier's not had a great start in that Corvette. Something has gone awry there. Didn't have a bad run out last time at Spa from memory. Kept it relatively trouble-free in kind of no man's land throughout the whole race. So bit of a big ask on his hands at the moment. Meanwhile, Kevin Boss, though, up 4 positions in his... is this his debut, Ted? Or have we seen him in LMU before? I feel we've seen him before, surely. Can't be the first time Kevin Boss has raced LMU.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah. I feel like Kevin is the type of guy to get stuck into everything, so I'm sure he's probably been on an RCI broadcast in LMU before, but the first time we've seen him in this championship in the Mercedes as he comes through turn number 2 out towards the S's. Just behind him, that's Frank Forrest, I believe, in the BMW, up 2 positions. One of the Whittles down 2, but the other Whittle, I think that's Richard Whittle, up 5 positions overall currently, so a good start for him. In the Porsche, Richard Whittle there as he navigates through the S's in the Roxy livery.
Huel just had a spin.
Huel, spin, well caught, Ted, just off the circuit, rejoins just behind Rebecca, but it's all gone backwards for the German driver so far. Down 4 positions overall. He is on wet tyres, so it's not going to be a tyre issue. Purely
that
just
wheel looks
Porsche.
broken. That rear left looked weird. I want to see the rear right. Come on, cameras, do your trick. Might just be my eyes.
Might just be a trick of the light, maybe, but yeah, nothing looks right at the moment, but never say never in the world of endurance racing. We know it can all kind of, flip a switch and turn very, very quickly for some drivers, and other drivers, of course, profit off others failing. So it's always a topsy-turvy bit of a race to follow along. But Sunuev out front still, not by a country mile, though. He's got Vaselli behind him, and of course Louis Curtin just behind a kind of armada of Ferraris almost behind. Klaus Neiring separates the Ferrari train up. Badowski P5, Van Drijcher in the Peugeot in P6. Reese Wilkinson in the Aston Martin as Sunuev has to go defensive from Vaselli down into turn number 11. The Ferrari does the old switcheroo, the old up and under, puts himself on the favoured side for the next corner. That's going to be turn 12, but it's a straight drag race off the corner. The BMW just about has enough power to pull clear of the Ferrari, and Louis Curtin sitting back probably very sensibly from this fight as Sunyaev pinches towards the inside. The first of the traffic is beginning to appear ahead as they both run each other off the circuit in turn number 12. Louis Curtin keeps it between the white lines as they head through the slower stadium section where we saw the absolutely electric gain from Curtin on his pole lap. So we know the young Belgian driver very quick through here, and I think that's Walker in the Mercedes. That's one of the first LMGT3s these guys are going to come across, and in these mixed conditions, it can prove quite dangerous to try and shoehorn your way through an opponent. As we see Lance Taylor down the pit lane, I'm wondering if that's going to be an early tyre change towards a set of dries, and it's a definite blue sidewall. So no tyre change there, maybe just a routine bit of damage fixing as Sunyaev comes out of turn number 20, not hindered too much by the traffic, if anything, profited off that slower car. He's opened the gap somewhat to Vasselli, as we see Louis Curtin in the background, equally not as close. So the Mercedes not proving to be all too costly to the front runners, and in the background, Nyring still keeps ahead of Badowski. As we see a brief yellow flag being thrown, I can only assume that's going to be a car backwards somewhere around the circuit, as Aurelius Partes weaving slightly, maybe trying to fill the steering out on that Porsche. And something to note from last week, we saw Hugo Mels, while we speak about Porsches, had an absolutely rotten start at the beginning of Spa, and unfortunately not with us tonight, but I really hope that's not the last that we saw of Hugo Mels as we go almost 3 wide down into turn number 12. Got very close there with, I think that's Callum Kerrigan. It is indeed in that car. Olivier just ahead, and I think that's Townsend, I want to say, question mark behind. It could be one of the Whittles. They're also in a BMW and expected to be maybe down that side. Townsend still P16, so that's got to be one of the Whittles. But Callum Kerrigan, he's not giving up on the back of this Corvette at all, and it is Keith Whittle there with another Mercedes to boot, and there's tyre smoke. There's avoiding action. Keith Whittle has to go left. Olivier off again. That's going to be a flat spotted set of tyres. The amount of smoke we saw. Ted Edwards very quick on the replay bar. We have to kind of skim through the replay somewhat within LMU. It's not as slick and efficient as our ACC tool was. And was there contact is the question. Olivier kind of went out of shot as we come back to Keith Whittle through 17 and 18, and ooh,
maybe
it's very close. I'm not too, it almost looked net Cody, but again, Callum was a lot quicker into the corner, so we're gonna have to kind of determine who was at fault. And I want to say Callum has ever so slightly grazed the back of that Corvette just as it's loaded itself up through turn 17, and that's what's undone Olivier there. And I'm sure there was a skim on that left side rear quarter as we headed through 17 and 18 there. And just trying to spot if we got any damage to the front of Callum Kerrigan's car.
Doesn't look like it, does it?
It looks relatively clean, Ted. I'm agreeing with you there, but something might have been awry with that one. That's going to be
something.
That's going to be up to the stewards to decide, Ted. What have you noticed?
This man on the mediums, yes, he's down in 32nd place, 14th in hypercar. Fastest lap of 2:02 2.621 compared to the fastest on the wets, which is a Max Zinyav of a 2:02.834. And another yellow flag somewhere.
So we're getting into the changeover window, essentially, when, of course, the wet tyre becomes as equal to the dry tyre on pace, and then drivers have to start thinking about when they're going to make the switch. Of course, too soon, you won't be able to get the heat into the dry tyre to keep it alive and kind of switch it on, essentially. But too late, and you're going to, of course, be burning up the wet tyres. The tread blocks are going to be smoothing themselves off, and it's not going to be a nice tyre to drive on. So it's all about reading the forecast, of course, looking ahead, looking at the bigger picture. There's still, of course, 1 hour 6 on the clock, as Vasselli still sniffing at the back of Sunyaev through the middle sector. The Ferraris certainly look very quick through the slow stuff, but then the BMW jumps on the loud pedal and the gap kind of opens up once again. A much tighter line through 17 and 18 for Martin Vassely, and Sunyaev having to run a little bit wide as he hits traffic. He has to check up as Lance Taylor in the garage for something on that Lexus, but it's all kicking off down at the last corner, turn number 20, as we see one of the Whittles taking avoiding action. Olivier in the Corvette giving way as well, and that nearly became a bit of a traffic jam, a bit of a bottleneck, and Sunyaev feels he has to go defensive up into turn number 1. Either that or he's trying to find a bit of wet stuff to cool down those tires on that BMW as they come out of turn number 1. There's a hip and shoulder in the background. Olivier getting elbows out with one of the Whittles, and Louis Curtin sliding very wide through turn number 2 as they're trying to push every inch of this circuit right now. There's another slow car ahead in the S's, and all they've really got to do is hold the line, but it's super scary as an LMGT3 driver. You're constantly watching mirrors, trying to avoid the chaos that is kicking off behind as other cars try and use you for bait in fights, in passing maneuvers.
Mediums.
And Ryan Gill, the first of the hypercars, I would say, other than the Ferrari that we've already seen out and about, to take a set of dry tires. Aurelius Partes maybe reading this scenario as well as he pulls into his box as Ryan Gill leaves his. That got very close. Remember, there's no ghosting in the pit lane in LMU. That was the best part of this game, being picked up by big time streamers when they soon found out you couldn't just drive through your opponents or your teammates in the pit lane. And the jump scares were quite amusing as we watch the Penske Porsche up on its checks, the number 4. Aurelius Partes currently P13, waiting for his tires to see will they change from wets to dries, or will he be electing for another set of wets? It's got to be dries, surely, Ted, at this point. If anybody's watching the live timing, they're figuring out Van der Vecken on those mediums is running quicker or equal pace to the fastest on the wets. It's a no-brainer, surely, at this point to jump down the lane.
Yeah, well, he's dropping back quite a bit. GT3's had overtaken now. He's taking ages, unless it's just because we're watching like a hawk. I just want to see what it looks like when they change the tires. I've not watched this before on a stream. We've seen a lot of things. People crashing in pit lane and stuff, and wets, still on the wets. So that was like a full pit stop. That was weird.
Full pit stop for another set of wets. Maybe not enough fuel, possibly, and just electing to brim the tank and take another set of wets while you're stationary down the lane. Been lapped by the race leaders, as we see Sunyaev and Vassely still in the same train as they once were through the S's, clattering through those curbs, just trying to take the straightest line possible and not overcook those wets. But it is the Ferrari it's a lot quicker, Ted. Once the speed scrubs out of that BMW, the Ferrari really closes in and really reels that German mark in as we ride on board here from Martin Vassely's front window. It's a fantastic view of how close they're probably going to end up getting when the speed eventually scrubs off, and Sunyaev's car bottoming out almost everywhere. And it's a big dive from Vassely. He's going to have to dial on the lock, clatters into the side of Sunyaev, and both run each other off the circuit. That's going to bring Louis Curtin back into the fight somewhat. He's dropped off the back of these guys through traffic, probably playing it safe, realizing how many lumps these guys are taking out of each other, and thinking there's probably going to be a move on the card somewhere. If I just bide my time, they may make up an extra space, as one of the Mercedes getting kind of barged out the way as they headed through turn number 12. I did say it's quite awkward for LMGT3s once they've kind of turned in and picked their line. It's almost like the GT3 GT4 fight we used to see in ACC all the time, with drivers getting dive bombed in GT4 not being too happy, and it's almost the same here, except the hypercars are a lot faster than the LMGT3s. Gillen van Drijke on to the dry tires. The Peugeot, another one to pick up the set of slick Michelins at the moment, and we'll have to keep an eye on Van Drijke and Gill. Have they made the right call at the right time? Matthew Malcolm also down the lane. I'm going to assume that's another set of dry tires going there, as we see Martin Mares making his way through traffic quite gingerly, I thought, compared to Reece Wilkinson ahead in the Aston Martin. The Aston also down into the pit lane. That could be another set of dry tires coming in. Of course, we've only been running about 19 minutes or so not particularly a lot of running on these wet tires to make them kind of wear down, but a lot of drivers electing to make the switch. Billy Octane probably in communications with Ryan Gill. Gill says all is good, thumbs up. And I think Billy Octane says, I'm going to have a piece of that. And down the lane, they will come. So we're seeing a lot of the hypercars coming in at the moment, Ted, but none of the LMGT3s have elected to take a set of
Yeah.
dries.
Well, just gone over to Milan here. That target time, that's his fastest lap. He is the fastest hypercar right now, and he's on the mediums compared to the guys at front who are on the wets. So mediums, by the looks of it, are the fastest compound right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how long they can last, but I don't think I see any window wipers going anymore like there was. Oh, there is. There's one there. Okay, I lie. I was blind, but yeah, we just have to see how Gill and Octane do Wilkinson on those medium tyres. See what lap times they can pull out the bag.
Yeah, of course, we'll be monitoring as we head round. Of course, Van der Vecken, the first essentially driver to blink and take those dry tyres, as yet more traffic in the top three fight. And Vaselli's been delayed a lot by the Lamborghini. Can Louis Curtin make the better read? And he does. He kind of gets up and under him towards the outside, or the inside, should we say, of the exit of 18. And Louis Curtin trying to close up that gap on Martin Vaselli somewhat. Meanwhile, Sunyaev managing to use the traffic to his advantage, putting Aston Martin between the pair and opening up the gap somewhat as well. So fingers crossed the Ferrari driver of Vaselli can get back onto the rear of Sunyaev, and we've really enjoyed seeing the fights as the LMGT3 leader is also about to be lapped. Philip Brewster still out front by a country mile, I would say, currently at the moment from Carlos Calata. You had no position changes on the front row, although Cowley up 2, Verstappen up 5. He is really on a bit of a charge back to try and get to where he expected to be, probably from the failed qualifying attempt that happened. We saw him backwards, of course, in the early stages of the session. Didn't give him enough time to go back out, get a feel for the car, and set a lap, and it definitely affected his confidence more than anything in this one. And just watching Philip Brewster compared to the hypercars, not a lot of curb usage being used by these LMGT3s on kind of corner exit, only really on the entry, as Martin Lawrence takes a massive chunk out the inside curb in his endeavor, using all of the exit curb compared to Townsend, who really didn't touch the exit curb all too much. The car bodies are still wet and glistening, so there's definitely enough water out there to keep the wet tires alive somewhat. And I'm going to guess, Ted, LMGT3s are a little less sensitive to tires and tire changes, and sky definitely looking grey, and there's definitely rain coming down. So was the dry tire maybe the right option at this moment? If the rain's going to get heavier, of course, we could see a flurry of cars back into the pit lane, and maybe a set of scrubbed dries later on coming back, or
There's a bit of rain
some
on the
drivers
windscreen.
electing to bank the fresh set, possibly. Of course, if we could go from the hour mark, that's a new set of dry tyres. On the half an hour mark, a little bit of a refuel. Of course, less fuel to carry, less weight across the race. An extra trip down the pit lane, as we see Martin Mares, I think that was in the Toyota, going very wide as he endeavours to lap this pair of battling cars. And I think we've lost Townsend somewhere in the pillar, and I think he is still ahead of Verstappen as we jump on board with Martin Mares there, dispatching of Townsend up the inside. Towards the front, though, still relatively unchanged. It looks like Sunyaev just underneath the windscreen banner of Louis Curtin's car. A lot of the Ferrari gear kind of stuffed in the headliner of this car, so it makes an onboard camera a little bit awkward from over the driver's shoulder. But you can see there how much wheel movement. And Matt Townsend, we were just seeing him with Martin Lawrence. That's down at turn number 20. He was fighting straight back to the pit lane. I think that's going to be our second retiree. He was fighting with Martin Lawrence, and Martin Mares involved as well in the lapping phase. And coming down into 19, a flash of the lamps. That's just a definite displeasing flash, I would say. Missed his braking point and jumped on the loud pedal a bit too early. And I was saying earlier, the instant torque of the BMW, of course, it pulls off the corners very well, and in mixed conditions with low TC, a little bit too well, I would say, as Matt Townsend clatters into the inside wall. That, of course, promotes Martin Lawrence up another position on his endeavour. Meanwhile, Frank Forrest down the lane, where we get to see a tyre change this time out for the BMW M4, and of course the last update of LMU integrated the livery tool essentially, didn't it, Ted, with the accessibility for drivers to share their liveries a lot more kind of openly and find liveries that they want to apply to their cars. So that's definitely a set of mediums. So Frank Forrest, the first, I'm going to say, question mark, to jump on a set of mediums, although Ryan Walker also on a set of mediums. So second driver to elect to jump a set of mediums, and you can already see how much understeer through turn 1, Ted. That is like turning the Titanic, as we now have a battle of the dry tyres on your screen. That is Ryan Walker just behind in the number 61 Iron Lynx Mercedes, coming through the S's, and this is going to be cold tyres versus hot tyres. A driver that's not so experienced on the dry tyres compared to Ryan Walker, who's certainly been running a few laps, and Frank Forrest, I think, very sensibly moving out of the way, or understeering out of the way of Ryan Walker as he begins to get to grips with this dry tyre. But Walker's car, they're certainly switched on that Mercedes. You can already see the gap that's opened up through that first sector, Ted. That Mercedes looks very good on the dries right now. As we have a look down the pit lane, Martin Vaselli, one of the Ferrari drivers, he has elected to ditch his wets, I believe, in endeavor of a set of dries as he comes out, trying to feel the steering, trying to feel the grip. And if Frank Forrest's endeavors were anything to go by, it's going to be understeer city as he gets to grip. You can already see the speed difference. Even Raphael Huell coming into shot, closing up quite quickly before the throttle was applied on that Ferrari. Ryan Gill, another driver on the dry tires. So again, looks very planted, very settled through the S's, and the wipers have stopped wiping on the front of that Aston Martin. I'm wondering if any other drivers' wipers are on, as we see the wets to dries comparison at the moment. Vaselli, Gill, Wilkinson, Yao, and Octane all on the medium tyre, as the target time down to a 201.456. Gill purple in his first sector. So this has certainly dried out, and that's a Ferrari off at turn 11. I think that could be Van der Vecken. It is indeed, as he begins to find a gap in the traffic to get going here.
But the target time is the fastest lap for Ryan Gill. He's the fastest car in hypercar right now, and he's going quicker. And so it's showing us that these medium tyres are the quicker tyre now. The track is drying out, and the wets aren't holding on long enough. With curtains in the pit lane as well, so he's obviously feeling that the wets aren't handling the track as much as he wants them to do anymore. So there you go, straight onto the mediums.
So Louis Curtin blinking as well, thinking the mediums are the good tyre to be on. Klaus Nyring comes down the lane. I think that's going to be for the same reason.
He's missing something.
He is well spotted. He's missing the rear wing blade between the two end plates. That is a Peugeot 908 Spec Valkyrie, I would say, if ever I've seen one. As Ted begins to find the replay, it's already happened by the time we got down the back straight. Has it happened with Van der Vecken? It's already gone by this point.
Oh, that's why. This is why the Ferrari was slow at the corner onto the back straight.
As they headed through the S, a big snap from Van der Vecken, and rolling into the side of Klaus Nyring, turns him sideways into the wall. That's a rear wing gone. That's going to be some damage towards the 499 Ferrari as well. And that is probably why, Ted, very slow, we saw Van der Vecken on the outside of turn number 11 before we got, of course, to the back straight. And very unfortunate there. It's almost if Van der Vecken held his brakes, it wouldn't have rolled off into the yonder, shall we say, as
oh no, it's fine. I thought it sounded horrible, but yeah, that's that thing's had no rear wing, and he's still there.
So lengthy repair
Oh, there you go.
Klaus Naring. The wing is back on the car. The car is off the jacks and on the way once again. And we'll have to see as he comes past the cameraman. Has he dropped the set of wets? He has.
Yeah.
A set of dry Michelins on there as well. So Klaus Naring, refreshed car as he leaves the pit lane. Max Sunyaev, your race leader by a bit of a country mile, but I'm going to say those wet tyres aren't going to be too happy at the moment, as the dry tyres are very quick at the moment. Ted, have you got the last lap time of Sunyaev to compare to maybe Ryan Gill?
Having a look now, I can't find a last lap time, but they have not beat their best lap time. So they are a lot slower. So 2:02.834 was their best, and that Ryan Gill's his fastest was 1.4 seconds quicker.
So the Aston without the hybrid unit, of course, a lot quicker there. So Sunyaev probably going to be wanting to think about ditching these wet tyres relatively soon to try and get onto the optimum tyre for the conditions ahead. A big hello to you guys in YouTube and Twitch. The chats have been a little bit quiet today, but we are watching Usama Kanani, who the madman, who of course sat with us through our last broadcast while he piloted the Peugeot to a P3 in Spa. Not with us at the moment, as we see Ryan Gill dispatching of one of the sister Aston Martins. I think that's Yannick Sedler in the red car just behind, and made light work of Sedlar there. Indeed, that was a classic wet versus dry tyre scenario. Gill much more confident than Sedlar was through the S's, so an easy position to make up for Ryan Gill here. And if he's not careful, he's going to catch Vaselli and Curtin. They're just ahead. They're already in a fight as Vaselli tucks into the slipstream ahead. There's a Lexus. I think that's Philip Bracester, the LMGT3 leader. A big wiggle from Olivier Curtin as he tried to dart back onto the racing line and swoops around the outside of Vaselli, trying to hold the inside, of course, for the next corner as we head through the switchback nature that is the middle sector at the moment. And a big wiggle from Vaselli, just about wrestles it under control. I think this could be a bit of a sketchy time for all drivers involved, and Curtin's Ferrari not looking all too gracious through that final sector there. The long way around for Vaselli. There's no grip, there's a wiggle, there's a catch, there's another snap, and he eventually catches it before running out onto the extra runoff. Ryan Gill coming through saying thank you very much indeed. We'll have another position up for the Aston Martin here. That's P5 for Ryan Gill, just ahead as Marco Badowski makes his pit stop. Max Sunyaev also making his. That promotes Martin Mares to the race lead very briefly. And Sunyaev still on a set of wets, Ted. Very well spotted. Has Sunyaev seen something that the other drivers haven't seen? And maybe the forecast is about to take a turn for the worse.
I'm scared for Max right now, because if he's done the wrong strat, this is race over for maximum points. Yeah, unless he thinks, oh, I put another set of wets on, and I'll just, unless he's just not looking at it, because I know the drivers can see in the top left of their screen what tyres people are on in front and behind them, so unless he hasn't seen, oh dear. No, that's fine. Someone else. Wait, where is Ryan Gill? I swear I saw him doing 4 mile an hour just now. Yeah, so unless he's not looked at his screen at the hood to see what other drivers are driving on, because you can do that in this sim, going on wets again is not something I would do.
Bit of a gamble of a strategy, maybe making the wrong call. We'll have to see if it pays off, or was it just a splash and dash to keep that car going a bit later into the stint to try and prolong the set of dry tyres that he does eventually take. They're going to, of course, be in a much kind of nicer state when this track, or if this track, should we say, does dry out. Harry Conway, a little bit of an inside in the YouTube chat. You were right, Ted. Ryan Gill span somewhere. So that's going to be in the first sector where you, of course, caught up with him. So Ryan Gill on those dry tyres, not having a good time as much as we think he is, as he now gets behind Ryan Walker. Ted, of course, brings up the infamous replay bar. Nothing, of course, will get past you, Ted. We outed a few people last week that we caught in Spa that thought they got away with it. Let's have a look to see what's happened to Ryan Gill. We'll go ×2. We'll make it seem like the Valkyrie has a bit of a hybrid system to boot this time out. Of course, this is what it could look like if the hypercar class
Oh,
existed. And
no, that's just server.
that's just server. That's fine. Let's keep watching. Clattering over the curb through 17 and 18 through 19, looking relatively
Where did Mr.
calm.
Conway say it was?
He didn't. He just said Ryan span it. That's all we got. So it's happened somewhere, I'd say, through the S's, Ted. You did pick him up through about turn 9, I think. Thought he was driving slowly. And
Oh, hello.
on the transition, there we go. Drift King of the day, Ryan Gill. Just about keeping it clean on one of the Ferraris going past him
That's
there.
Vaselli.
I think that's Vaselli. That did get very close indeed between Ryan Gill and Vaselli. Well avoided from both drivers. And some good heads-up driving on the after spin for Ryan Gill to stop his car rolling into more drama. So Gill gets back underway. Nothing gets past Ted Edwards. And we go by once again. And we're going to have to make a note of that one, Ted. That's going to be one for the RCI social media clips, I think. That's 46 minutes. Ryan Gill spins. There we go. On the highlight reel, expect to see that one on RCI social media very shortly. All of our links are down below in the description for Instagram, YouTube, Discord, the website, all that good stuff. As Billy Octane now decides to take a trip backwards, and Harry Conway in our chat. Billy span it. Next message. LOL. So something's happened to Billy Octane. No prisoners for Harry Conway tonight here on the
Same
broadcast.
part.
And it's almost a 1-to-1 of Ryan Gill, although didn't make it as far.
Oh, that's dangerous.
As Ryan Gill around the corner. Stops, decides to reverse quite sensibly, I think, at this point. Off onto the extra, off onto the extra asphalt and back underway. So no harm, no foul once again. And as we go back to the notes page, Ted, that's about 44 minutes.
Yeah, we have to do
Billy,
these notes.
Octane
Else,
spins.
is it Mr. Kerrigan? Yeah, he gets a little bit angry with us when we forget to write down the times.
I mean, I wouldn't want to go through an hour 20 of a race to clip it up. So fair play to Callum Kerrigan for taking time out of his day and a bit of an unsung hero of RCI's social media team. Louis Curtin wrestling the car through, and that's Klaus Nyring now. That's a triple Aston spin. That's coming out of turn number 9 towards the end of the S's. So that's a bit of a...
I have to find another one. I wish I had a better replay system.
Yeah, the replay system in LMU is a bit clunky, but we still make it work, and Ted still manages to embarrass lots of people on the broadcast. So something's happened here, coming through turn number 8, out into turn number 9. There's a slow Aston ahead. I think that's either Christopher Streppen or possibly Carlos Calatayud. And I think Klaus Nyring trying to be the nice guy and avoiding the back end of that Aston, inadvertently put himself into the wall. It was
Carlos.
It was Carlos Calatayud on that one. So Klaus Nyring doing the sensible thing, should we say, trying to back out the throttle a bit, give the Aston some room and get underneath him. Inadvertently put himself nearly into the wall, managed to miss the gap in the wall for the marshals to push cars behind, and got back underway. But oddly speaking, Martin Mares is officially your race leader currently. As
He's
we
not
see
pitted, though, I think.
He's not. He hasn't pitted. He has stayed out through the thick and thin of it. So let's see how this goes. Yeah, there we go. Pit stops on the left-hand side. So Curtin,
hold up.
Curtin has pitted. He's on dry tyres, so the overlay's certainly doing us a bit dirty tonight. They definitely started on wets, I'm convinced.
I'm gonna have to go through.
You cannot convince me otherwise.
I'm gonna have to go through
not been down the pit lane.
Hopefully I can get the YouTube or even Twitch. Maybe,
I am convinced Louis Curtin has pitted at some point up here in the box. So Martin Mares, we'll leave Ted to figure that one out. Martin Mares, your inadvertent race leader. Sunyaev, of course, P2, officially on the road with one stop to his name. Louis Curtin getting a little bit dicey with one of the Mercedes through the S's section here, and wrestling that car around on dry tyres. It's an armful of opposite lock at times, and probably a bit of an understeering mess at other times. But the young Belgian driver certainly making it work for his championship endeavours on this calendar. And speaking of calendar, of course, we're A little bit quiet on the RCI calendar in the world of ACC at the moment. However, the Audi Academy does begin this week, Monday the 29th. On that one, a reduced race length was announced today as well, 40 minutes, 40 minutes for the championship. So if you don't want to commit to the full hour, you want a little bit of time out on a Monday just to get some racing under your belt, the Audi Academy certainly could be the one for you. The format being, of course, we've held the BMW Academy. I think we've had a Porsche Academy before under Tim Ireland as well. It ends up being the kind of stepping stones to GT3 essentially. So 2 rounds, it's an Audi R8 GT4. 2 rounds, it's a Audi R8 GT2. And of course, 2 more rounds is the Audi R8 GT3. So it's almost like the career progression that you would have in person if you kind of had a really big wallet burning a hole in your pocket and you wanted to waste some money and go GT racing. So check that one out. That's on ACC. First round takes place Nürburgring GP. That's this Monday coming. Saturday, of course, tomorrow. It's a double Dalton weekend, should we say, a double Ted Edwards weekend as well, as we head to the final round of the Ready, Set, Sim Endurance Series on iRacing. 5 hours at Road Atlanta as we see Klaus Nyring getting a little bit dicey. We've got Iridius Partes in there, Louis Curtin's involved, Kevin Boss, Callum Kerrigan. It's all kind of becoming a bit of a traffic jam as Louis Curtin sees a gap and goes for it. Absolutely sends the Ferrari through the inside of Callum Kerrigan. That's definitely woken up the young British driver on his endeavours through the S's, and he's got to be careful because Partes is trying to go the long way around, which will put him, of course, up the inside for the next turn. And that was a little bit of chaos involved in that one. Of course, the RSS Endurance Series, iRacing, tomorrow, final round, Road Atlanta. You can join myself and Ted. We'll take you all the way through from green to checker. I believe we've got Callum Kerrigan, Callum Kerwin joining us. I'm definitely going to get my callums mixed up tomorrow. That is a square on the bingo card as Kevin Boss goes for a little bit of a fishtail out of turn 11. Very well held, but that does allow Callum Kerrigan to get the jump on him as they head down to turn number 12. RCI bingo tomorrow. Cards are still open for suggestion. All cards auto-generated. All you need to do is log in with your Discord and play along as we tick our way through the bingo card. Martin Lawrence has retired. That was on my list of reads, Ted.
I didn't notice it because it's not actually popped up as DNF'd, as you can see on the timing screen there. But I just looked through the Friday Champ chat. Let's say he put an emoji of a finger, and we all know what finger is used for some reason.
Yeah, it's not the pointer finger or the ring finger.
Out of respect, I will not go and have a look because I feel it was someone did something to his car.
Well, I asked him. I said, what happened, Martin? And he said, this track happened. And I, for one, as a big COTA hater, know where he's coming from. Yeah, not on my list of top circuits that I would drive at, but nevertheless. Max Sunyaev into the pit lane. Might have been the wrong call, as you said earlier on, Ted, taking those wet tyres. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a set of dries go onto this BMW and see what pace can come out of the driver that already drives there. Down off the jacks, on his way he will go, and dropping to at least P6. As Martin Vaselli up into P3, I thought I just saw some smoke there heading off to the front of the screen. Fastest lap, 2:05. Already a quicker first sector.
Yeah, so no one else has touched the 2 minutes. Like, the closest driver is still Ryan Gill with a 1 minute, 2 minutes, no, 1 minute, yeah. 2 minute 1.456, and then Reese Wilkinson is a 2 minute 1.495. So those two drivers are the closest to Vaselli right now with the lap times, but still over a second off.
Yeah, it's going to be a big ask, isn't it? A second doesn't sound like a lot. If you arrived at a place at the same time as a friend and you were a second apart, you pretty much arrive at the same time. However, a second in racing terms, of course, is a large window, as we see Jan Jo here on the onboard, the Alpine, one of the only Alpines, I think, in the in the championship at the moment, or at least that we've seen here on RCI TV. I was going to say, bingo suggestions still open. Of course, play along with us tomorrow on the broadcast. Myself, Ted Edwards, and both the Callums will be joining us along the way. 5 hours at Road Atlanta. Sign up still open. I believe you can still lodge a late entry if you do want some practice for the IMSA series. So that's of course the real life, or not the real life, sorry, the iRacing official IMSA series coincides roughly with when we've held ours. So some early practice there if you do want that. Also on the website, sign-ups open this week for the Prototype Sprint Series featuring the brand new ELMS machinery, the mighty LMP2 Oreca 07, and of course the nimble semi-beginner, I think I've worked it here, the semi-beginner friendly Ligier LMP3. 6 rounds as Callum Kerrigan nearly misses his breaking point, ploughing through the back of Kevin Boss. What a lucky boy that would be. And Callum Kerrigan underway very safely, although a little bit rattled, and I think Kevin probably equally as rattled as he saw the Iron Dames Porsche getting ever closer into the final corner. 6 rounds, classic 1 hour races, and a calendar packed with big and small tracks. I've seen Sebring School Course being one of them, and if I remember rightly, that's where you come out of turn 1 and turn right again, and you bring yourself out kind of on the back end of the circuit. So that's going to be quite interesting to see LMP2s and LMP3s around there. Traffic management is the biggest test in this championship, as my eyes aren't deceived. No, we switched Porsche. Sorry, Ted, and all of that. I was going to say Kevin Boss has completely disappeared off our screen. Nevertheless, but if you do love pure prototype action, of course, get your name down for that one. That's, of course, hosted within LMU as well, the kind of bigger sim title, should we say, that seems to be attracting a lot more people at RCI. And of course, you can head over to the website and sign up anytime, day or night, racerci.com. And you can check out all of our events whenever you feel like it. Of course, down below, all of the relevant links to RCI, including Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and all that exciting stuff. Callum Kerrigan is putting in an absolute mammoth stint with the RCI social media. So be sure to drop us some love over there and show your appreciation to Callum, because he does take up a lot of his time, especially clipping up these races and uploading the shorts. It's fantastic to see finally RCI with a social media presence of somewhat. And of course, down below and in the top right hand side of the screen, all of our partners that make RCI endeavors possible. Ready Set Sim, of course, build your dream rig in seconds with their sim rig builder. Their mission to simplify sim racing, and not forgetting, of course, the €400 of prize pool money offered alongside our RCI trophies in the RSS Endurance Series. So that's something exciting there. Coach Dave Delta, faster lap times start with Delta, a setup and data analysis app for iRacing, ACC, LMU, and even Gran Turismo 7. Available in 9 languages, giving you access to setups, racing lines, and data analysis. Why not stay ahead of your rivals with Delta? Check the link down below for more information on that one. Of course, Greenman Gaming, where you can buy games and game keys with Greenman Gaming. Get the best prices, awesome bundles, and exclusive game deals daily. And currently they do have a 15% off all PC games with code SEP15, SEP15. Of course, you can find our affiliate link down below if you are looking to pick up any new titles. Head on over to those guys. Moser Racing, we partnered with last year, I believe now. It's been a bit of a longer standing partnership. Moser Racing, of course, needs no introduction, a leader in high quality sim racing gear. Of course, dropping 2 new wheelbases very recently. And a new one for us here, Pimax, who were the first VR manufacturer to put a 4K resolution inside a VR headset, followed by 8K, and they're now aiming for 12K. It's going to be an absolute mammoth resolution to have millimeters away from your eyes. Overseeing the concept and development of production of its own VR headsets, you can be sure Pimax will deliver an exceptional product. You can use code RCI10, that's RCI10 at checkout, and that will save you 10% on your purchase and sprinkle some pennies into the RCI pot. So if you are looking for VR this year or over Christmas, of course the holiday season is coming up. Fingers and toes crossed, write Santa a very nice letter then you might find a Pimax underneath your tree come December. Klaus Nyring, he's not had the best of races, Ted. An early spin that we've just seen. He's now down in P11, although on the dry tyres, currently towing along. I think that's Martin Mares just ahead. Still on the wet tyre, Ted. He's seeing that thing out to the end. He's going to make that a slick by the time he comes down the lane.
Nyring's all over the back end of that Toyota, being two different type of compounds on each car. Yeah, it's very interesting. I just want to pick up on something. How do you say the LMP3's manufacturer name?
Ligia?
The other. Oh wait, no, the LMP2. Sorry.
Oreca.
Yeah, Orica.
Yeah, tomato. I think. It's one of them, isn't it?
It really threw me. I was like, hold up, wait a minute.
Someone ate rat. Meanwhile, Klaus Nyring, though, trying to make a move on.
So.
Martin Mares, Theobald Roskam, well spotted into the pit lane. That's another retiree.
That's been
down.
A few laps. It just says in the pit. So, we're we're winging it today. We're trying to give you guys all the information, and it's really got us in the back. Oh, I just seen a really fast lap by this guy. A 1:57.8. That is a second quicker than Marco Badowski, who's in 1:58.7. So times are dropping. But I did see on the windscreen of, I think it was the Aston we were watching before when I was on board, few drops on the windscreen of rain. Only a bit, not a lot to make this track get wet, maybe a bit damp, maybe greasy. But I have noticed, and I should have mentioned this earlier when I saw it, there was a dry line, but look at the track now, it's dry.
Yeah, certainly drying out, isn't it, with the car circulating around. The rain levels must have slowed down, although not quite dry. Raphael Huell has been caught out by something. That looks like it's way off the circuit.
It's not got front left.
I'm going with turn 12, Ted. I'm going with turn 12 at the end of the back straight. It's missed its braking point, and we found ourselves in the wall. So that's what I'm going with.
Well, he was in the fight with the BMW, as we were watching earlier. And coming down to the back straight, the tight left-hander makes it through fine. Let's go a bit. Let's make him hypercar speed. Oh my God! Wasn't quick enough. What's he do? Oh, he just missed. That has to be hardware failure.
Yeah, it's the only explanation, isn't it? I mean, Raphael Huell kind of.
Let's have a look. It's down here on the bottom right.
Captain consistent. Normally pedal overlays towards the bottom, flat out.
Yep. Oh yeah, throttle stuck. Throttle stuck. No brake. Yeah, and it's still planted. Still planted.
Yeah. Fifth gear, flat to the mat, in the wall, and that is day done for Raphael Huell. Very unfortunate there. Hardware issues, akin almost. I like to compare them to a mechanical failure. Of course, something we don't get here in sim racing. It's all down to the hardware. Unfortunately, there, and very heads up driving and very quick reactions to react to what was going on. Of course, he would have punched the pedal, gone for a downshift, gone for another one, and gearbox protection would have stopped him pulling fourth. And that was the point when he knew, I need to react to this, and diverted himself right and avoided ruining two races. So that's big heads up driving to Raphael Huell. Such a shame. I agree there, Ted. Especially nearly an hour into the race. It's not been a short slog here this evening at COTA, but Olivier Curtin towards the top step. Of course, we saw him on the pole position earlier on. Still 27 minutes to go, though, so it's not over yet. Vasily, of course, hard charging. We got Reese Wilkinson, Ryan Gill, equally putting in quick laps, and of course Max Sunyaev. He is one of the fastest cars on the circuit at the moment, maybe taking the gamble we said about earlier, Ted, of course, keeping the wet tyre as long as possible to keep the dry tyre in its best condition when the circuit does dry out. It's going to be in that magical window where it's going to be a lot quicker than everybody else around him. Meanwhile, Brenox Olivier still out on the circuit, just left out from the pit stop, so cold tyres. Ooh. That's an
Yeah.
interesting decision. I didn't quite notice that on the left-hand side of the screen. That's a good thing to note. A lot of these GT drivers still on the wet tires. None of them are electing to come down and try and take that dry tire to find some pace. Although Walker, of course, was one of them. And we've got one of the Whittles circulating around on dries. Christopher Streppen down the lane for their mandatory stop. In the background, that looks like James Cowley just leaving his box as well. Becky, I think, is just behind the timing tower in the back of the shot. Tom
Wets
Shipston
again.
comes in. So another set of wets for James Cowley. That's an interesting thing to note.
Wets as
Christopher
well.
Streppen, wets again. Have the LMGT3 drivers now. Seems something we
Wets
haven't.
as well.
Becky, another set of wets. So it looks like the wet tire is about to prevail as we see one of the Aston Martins. I think that's Yannick Sedler coming down in the pit lane. Could he be about to make a switch to a set of wets? He's certainly on the dries at the moment as he comes in. P11 up on the jacks, a little bit of a shuffle forward on the skates. That's something I do like about LMU, where they lift the car, they skate it forward and then begin the work at the same time, rather than ACC, where we see so many pit stops ruined by being a little bit too far forward,
Shipston
back,
on the wets
left,
as well.
right, who knows. And Tom Shipston out on a set of wets. That's
Dries.
Yannick Sedler leaving on dries, so that could just be a bit of a, I would say, a splash and
What's
dash,
Boss
but
going
25
for?
minutes to go. It's a bit of a fill
Wets
and
as well.
go. Boss playing it safe with the wets. It looks like maybe the LMGT3's, Ted. I mean, I'm not well rehearsed in LMU like I am with ACC. LMGT3 is just a lot better at keeping this wet tire alive in mixed conditions, and hypercars are a little bit more sensitive to the tires, maybe.
I wonder, yeah, I wonder as well. Obviously, the hypercars have more downforce, so they're going to chew through the tires a bit quicker. They can take, like, the S's, for instance, a lot harder. But maybe they're, like, because of the downforce, they're putting so much pressure on those wets, they're just overheating them compared to the LMGT3s, where, you know, they don't have as much downforce. They're a bit slower, especially through the corners, so they don't put as much weight on the tires, so they don't chew through them as quick and don't overheat them as quick. So, you know, it's quite nice to see if that is the case. It's modelled pretty well, and I would say it's pretty nice to see compared to other sims out there that maybe do and maybe don't do that sort of thing. But you can see there's a car on the going off on the left to get onto the wet side of the main straight. Vistelli's in the pit lane as well again. Can't see right now, but oh, that's going to be moved back. I'll have to see. They're on the wets at the moment, so I have to see what they come out of the pit lane on. Yeah, Curtin did start on wets. I did look through, and they did. Oh, that's just for fuel or virtual energy and fuel. So that's a very quick stop. So obviously they pitted earlier on, stayed on the wets, and just needed to get some energy back in the car. You see Mears on 12%, Curtin on 35%, and Viselli comes out with 35%, so Curtin doesn't have to pit again. Don't know what the gap is. I'm going to say it's pretty big.
Yeah, I'm going to say the gap's pretty large
Where
right now.
is Curtin right now? Back straight.
Yeah, gap relatively large. Then we can't discount Martin Myers because he does have to come down the lane again. Wilkinson, 40% energy, should be able to make it to the end on that, providing his tyres keep alive for that long. Gill again, 38%. That should be more than enough. So Viselli on 35, he deems that's enough to get him to the end on wet tyres, and Louis Curtin out on dries. So again, we're going to have to see how the tyre evolves over the next 20 minutes or so, how the weather changes things, if it's going to be a curveball inserted into what we think is the final finishing order in another 20 minutes time. It could be completely flipped on its head. News in from Raphael Huell. We were right up here in the box, Ted. It was a pedal disconnect. Luckily, the wheelbase didn't disconnect, were his words, and probably scared the living out of Rybecki. And I think probably a clenched moment was had by Rybecki as he saw a Porsche sailing into his rearview camera rather quickly and alarmingly as he jumped on the brakes for turn number 12. So
Hang on a minute.
props to Raphael Huell for avoiding. And Louis Curtins down the lane for a set of wets. This is a late call. 21 minutes on the clock. Probably going to brim a little bit of fuel into the Ferrari and make sure it will get across the line. But the lead we thought Curtin had is going to dwindle. As we see, that's Billy Octane in what I thought was the Glickenhaus earlier. But it is, in fact, the Aston Martin.
They're all diving in.
Sunyaev also down the lane. Martin Vassely could have played an absolute blinder here on this one, because he's going to cross the line, Ted. He's going to have a warm set of Michelins versus stone cold tyres.
And Gill in all at the same time. This is going to be interesting. Now, if we go over to wherever Max has gone, I will find him in a second. He was the fastest on the dries. On the wets, it is getting wetter.
Oh, the car being turned as well to get him out of the box.
That's going to be slower.
That's going to be a bit slow, but no obstruction ahead of him, so a bit of a weird one from LMU. But this could have been an absolute blinder, inadvertently maybe, from Vassely. Reading it, of course, we were a bit confused at why he was still on the wets, and I think he's just proved it. He's just read the forecast. It certainly looks a lot wetter on the circuit. And then we see the flurry of wet tyres appearing on the leaderboard on the
oh, look at the rain. Oh, the track's wet.
Yeah. It is
it did dry
very
out.
wet.
So it dried out for what, 20 minutes?
Around about 20 minutes, I would say. 30 tops, maybe, if you're being generous. But
I
under 20 minutes remaining.
Yeah, I saw the dry. Oh, what a save from the Porsche! That was drift of the day, I think, Dalton. That Porsche was sideways, and luckily to hold that. So very well held by whoever's driving that Porsche in the background. But yeah. It's interesting and nice to see how quick. Obviously, you can't really compare this tyre mod, this rain model compared to iRacing, because iRacing's rain model is next level. You know how realistic it comes in, and how you got to drive a wet line compared to the dry line, which is the racing line. You have to come off it because of puddles, grease. You know, if there's rubber been put down already from driving in the dry, it makes it slippery. And it's a nightmare, but fun at the same time. And obviously, and the rain comes in at one side of the track, and one side can be dry, one side can be wet. Like the Nordschleife is literally the green hell when it rains. So that's nice to see realistic side. But obviously, LMU doesn't have the puddles, and it doesn't really affect the cars like ACC, for instance. But the tyre models with the track state, where it doesn't look too wet, but when we go on board, you can see the shine there, which could be like a damp track, and they need to put wets back on. It's just nice to see how the tyres react to the state of the track, and that you don't have to wait for it, like in ACC, to get really wet for you to be like, okay, yeah, get off the dries, get on the wets, or vice versa. So it is interesting to see, and it's very nice to see as well, because hopefully one day we can do some endurances and some team races on RCI once we're able to host them ourselves, because I would definitely be up for broadcasting that one.
Yeah, I say team events are going to be the turning point. We said last week, didn't we, on LMU, that of course once the team driver swaps come in, that's going to be the big point where I think we're going to see a lot more uptake in drivers here, as we see an Aston on Aston battle. We're not seeing double here. That is Carlos Calatayud and Christoph Verstappen renewing their fight. This is for the bottom step of the podium, and it looks like Verstappen at the moment has prevailed, although Ferrari, Martin Vassely could be getting involved, could determine the fight for these guys, but stays around the outside, gets the move done before we stand on the brakes for turn number 16 once again. Opening up 17 and 18. Verstappen does look like the faster car at this stage. Gap already opening up to Carlos Calatayud here. Not sure. Are we seeing another wet versus dry here, Ted? It's hard to make out the sidewalls on the Goodyears.
Oh look!
But it looks like Verstappen does have a lot more pace in him as we see the tyres. Everybody on wet, so it could just be maybe Carlos is on a very old set of wets versus Christoph's newer set of wets. Maybe a few more tread blocks on Christoph's car compared to Carlos's. So Slogging away is the Spaniard, and
Oh,
Zeno van Drijscher. I was about to raise this one. He's posted in the multi-sprint season 3 chat. PC crashed
oh
today.
no.
Blamed Ryan Gill. Said, Ryan Gill, you were right. There were still 5 races left to DNF. Well, here's the second one. You cursed me with a man with rather large biceps squaring up with a pair of fists. So maybe Ryan Gill, the root cause of that one, but very unfortunate to see. And also agreed kind of with Martin Lawrence that this track is a bit of a pain. Apologise to Billy Octane for not releasing you from your horror. My PC crashed, otherwise I would have loved to help you get out of that pain. So not sure what they were working together with, but certainly something going on between the Peugeot and Aston. Louis Curtin still prevails at the moment, just under 16 minutes to go. Bit of a blinder played by the young Belgium, although in the background, Martin Vesely still hunting down the young driver, trying to take away the 2 for 2 under his name. And
Quite far
Max
back.
Sinyev,
Only just coming out the S's. Is that the
very
S's?
quick. That is the S's, Ted. That's going through turn 8 before
in
we
the
head over the hill towards turn 9. So
Jeez.
we're a fair way behind as he compresses through 10 down to the hard braking of 11.
Did he do
before the
another
back
pit
straight,
stop? He did. Oh, look at that. Well, we know Curtin's done 2. Ignore the 1. It's lying to us. So
yeah,
2 each for first and second, and obviously Sunyav with 3. So their gamble with the 3 wet tyres didn't pay off. They should have gone for the mediums when everyone else did. Keep the pace up. Although saying that, I think they were on mediums because their fastest lap was a 1:57, which is the fastest lap of the race so far. So
yeah.
I'm lying.
Max was very late on the uptake of the dries. If you remember, everybody was on dries. He came in, stayed on wets, then came in the second time to take the dries.
So they had the dries at the perfect point for having dries, but lost all the time on the wets.
Lost all the time on the build up to the drying stage. So yeah, unfortunate there. Yannick Sedlar slow out of turn 10. I'm going to say down towards
nice
11.
livery.
So a spin indeed, very nice livery indeed. Kind of reminds me a bit of the Red Tiger camouflage from the early Call of Duty games.
Modern Warfare 2. Oh, yes.
Modern Warfare 1 for some of us elders here, Ted.
Oh, was it in 1 as well?
Call of Duty 4. It was definitely in COD 4. Definitely, it was the wasn't it 500 headshots or something? As we see a big lockup from Yannick Sedler as we reminisce. He's now back. There he is across the extra runoff area. Aston Martin things, I think, Ted. We did see Matthew Malcolm, of course, earlier on was mentioning it was very hard to get it under control, and Yannick Sedlar also a victim. Zeno van Drijscher has been in the YouTube chat as well as the Discord chat, and he says, back-to-back DNFs, not how I wanted to start the season, but I will come back, and that's the main thing we like to see here at RCI, people never giving up and kind of slogging on no matter what happens. So hopefully we'll see him back next week as Martin Mares has to take to the inside of the S's to avoid a slower Callum Kerrigan in these slightly wetter conditions. It's much harder for cars, of course, to change their course or change the direction once they've committed. So good heads-up driving from Martin Mares there, not to run somebody off the road. I was going to mention something, but the point has completely gone from my head at the moment. I'm sure it might come back to me, Ted. But for now, Kevin Boss, of course, first race for him. 22nd currently overall. That's a valiant effort for his first entrance into the LMU world that I've seen.
Ninth
anyway,
place.
on RCI TV. 9th place in class. That's very admirable indeed for Kevin Boss there. Back to the Orica argument. We're going to have this, Ted. We're going again.
Go on.
Depending where you are in the world, depends on how you say it. So if you're English, Google Translate will say Orica or Orica, however you want to say it. And if you're French, there is more of a Orica about it. So tomato, tomato. See how Google Translate reads it, and that's how I settle arguments. So we'll agree to disagree on that one, shall we say, as we get back to the action. Carlos Calatayud, we saw him not so long ago get passed by Christoph Verstappen, and Christoph has absolutely disappeared.
Coming out T1 now.
Where is he, Ted? I don't even think he's in the S's. He's just getting
It's
to the
just
S's
getting
ahead
the
of
S's,
Carlos.
yeah. So he's still quite ahead. That's Cowley in front, isn't it? It is.
That is the Lamborghini of James Cowley,
Oh,
indeed.
now Ryan
Being
Gill
hunted down.
loves the Lamborghini.
He does, our Ryan Gill.
Let's,
Big Lambo
let's
fan.
turn it up a little bit because I don't really hear many V10s nowadays. Oh. It is a very nice sound, John. So I think for my rankings of sound, it's Cadillac, Mustang, V12 Aston, either GT3 or the old GT3 or the hypercar now, and it's got to be the Lamborghini / Audi, because obviously it's just the same engine.
Yeah, completely agree. It's a wonderful engine, isn't it? The V10 platform, of course, started across the Lamborghini GT3s right from the early days of the Huracan. I really struggled to think then of what model Lamborghini were running
okay,
in GT3.
John?
I've had a long day, Ted.
Oh.
I've been at work, as we see in the background.
Hello.
A mistake from Christoph Verstappen sideways
You ain't getting
into
away
the
from me.
stadium section. Nothing escapes Ted Edwards.
Come here.
As he clunkily skims back through the replay bar of LMU.
I'm learning. You got to click it once, wait, and then click it again. There we go. We were not here.
We need something like ACC for this.
We do.
Anybody at LMU listening? Please help. As Ted fast forwards through Christoph Verstappen's half a lap, coming down, of course, into the slowest section through turn number 13 and 14. We went, jumped on the loud pedal, and all of a sudden the back end let go, managing to save it, and a little bit of a wrestle to get it back off the grass again for 15 and 16, but kind of no harm, no foul there. Getting back underway relatively safely.
Yeah, just
able to
probably no traction or low traction control.
Didn't even hit the curb.
No,
I thought maybe dipped a wheel, but nothing. So a bit of a learning curve for everyone here, both me and Ted up here in the booth, and drivers down on the circuit that we're used to seeing in other titles. ACC, Christoph Verstappen would never make that mistake, I would say, quite confidently.
Not far behind.
As the gap looks like it has come down a bit between Louis Curtin and, of course, Martin Vaselli, just behind energy levels looking.
Watch out, Kevin.
Insane. Louis Curtin.
Oh, look at the spray. It is wet.
More. And there is a lot of spray offline. I was going to say that as Louis Curtin ran up the high side of 17 and 18, it really began to kick up as the Roxy Porsche holds its line very sensibly.
Yellow flag
down
for Billy
into the
Octane.
turn.
What are you doing over there, Billy?
Ted once again. Harry Conway is probably loving the show right now for the amount of his friends that he's seeing in Aston's slightly off the course. So we're going to have to wait, of course, for the replay tool to wake up. Here he comes in his Glickenhaus.
Same place as Verstappen.
It is almost an Aston 1-to-1.
It must be really slippery there.
Yeah.
Oh, what a save.
Almost tried to turn left to whip it back on itself and didn't quite have enough lock in the car and had to straight line it and hit the reverse gear. Back it up, Billy, as he gets back underway. P10 for Billy Octane at the moment. Martin Vaselli towards the front though, chomping away, trying to get near Louis Curtin. Will he have enough in him? Of course, we're just under 8 minutes to go, so roughly 2 minutes a lap. You do the maths, it's about 4-ish laps, and the gap is certainly opened up between Vaselli and Curtin once again. They're only about a corner apart, let's say, Ted, in our measurements, because of course the timing overlay not doing us the best here tonight, so it's all a bit of a guessing game. And in the background there you see the glow of the headlights of Vaselli's car, so I don't think he's got enough in him, but traffic giveth and traffic taketh away, and mistakes taketh away a little bit more as he heads across the extra runoff areas. See the amount of spray kicking up there on the back of the Ferrari, and Sunyaev, of course, up into P3. I don't think he's going to be close enough even to
still on dries.
Capitalize.
I think that says yes.
Does that answer your question with the back end of the Aston skating through?
I didn't even just look at the tyres. That was.
That is. That's definitely a set of drives.
We've got to have
the most
drift of the day
instant
for each
power.
class now.
Yeah, I think Nyring's up there with that one. That's
Oh,
pretty good for Hypercar, although Gil was pretty strong through
yeah,
8 as
no, that's
well.
true.
So
It
we
is
might
these
have to
Astons
turn
that
this one.
struggle. I haven't tried them
May-
yet. Well, tried the
Maybe we could
car.
turn this one to a project for Callum Kerrigan on social media. Who had the best drift at COTA? We could have a little compilation maybe of drivers attempting the drifting. Klaus Nyring there, looking rather settled through the medium speed corners, but it's the kind of higher speed slowdowns, and especially these corners with a lot of standing water, it looks like, on the outside lines, and very brave over the curb. That's Yannick Sedler in the wall. That's down, I'm going to say, at the S's, the first part maybe, as we head out of turn 2. I think it is before we even get to the S's. Does that tyre look down on the rear, or is that my eyes? I think that could be my eyes, but
We've got
Ted
left
Edwards
5
not missing
minutes.
everything. Bear with him while we
Come on.
find the replay cooler.
I'd hate to do
As,
this in like a 6-hour endurance race, John.
Well, this could get painful.
Oh,
Ted.
hello.
It is over 6 hours. Something's happened. Ooh, that's definitely through turn number 2. Over the
Ooh,
curb,
whip
and
curb,
no
maybe?
grip on that inside curb. Standing on the
pathetic.
brakes, trying to stop it,
Bonk.
but unfortunately, no gravel on modern day circuits to scrub momentum means you're just kind of sliding over the extra runoff area, and it's very slick out there. Of course, nothing to clear the water away, so into the wall went Sedler. It's going to be too near the end of the race to bother even making a stop at this point, so all he can really do is try and claw on, as Van der Vecken's still out on a set of dries as well. I've just noticed on the board on the left-hand side. Absolute madman still going around with Nyring.
It shows
everybody else
you
on
can
wets.
you can still drive on these tyres. You just got to be more careful than you know, people on wets. Which is nice to see, because obviously in endurance racing, if the weather changes very quickly, or you find out that hopefully one day they bring like a radar in or something to tell us. Because at the minute, the only thing I know is tiny pedal, which everyone used to use for R Factor 2, and that tells you what the rain's going to be in the next few minutes, or how long is it going to last like this for. But apart from that, we have no idea. The drivers might not really have any idea. They might have like a next weather, but they probably don't know how long that's going to be. So if you can stay on dries, when the rain comes, you just keep on it, and then 10-minute rain, and you keep on them, try and save a bit of time. And people will spend like 30 seconds or so in a pit lane switching tyres and getting some fuel. You might be able to gain some time back, but you can still drive on these dry tyres. I think when the game first came out, or when I first started playing it properly, I think multiplayer hosted sessions like we have here. I joined one of Dan Suzuki's races, and me and Dan just stayed on the dries. Everyone else went for wets, but we only had like 5 minutes of the race left, and we were gone. We were like 60 seconds down the road, and this was at Spa, and it still felt fine. Like, it was still drivable. You had to be a bit more careful. You had to turn the TC up a little bit more, but there was not really much of a problem as long as you didn't, overcook your braking or get on the throttle too early. But yeah, it was it is quite enjoyable, and it gives you a different way of doing strategies, which is something that I think a lot of racers, especially endurance racers, like doing. And I love doing endurance racing with a team of lads, and just chilling out for like 24 hours. So, John, I can't wait. I really can't wait till we can host them, because I'm going to be all over Ryan Gill saying you need to host one. I will stream the whole thing.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those magical things, isn't it? When you and a bunch of friends get together and, slog it through a 24-hour race, a 12-hour, 6-hour, however many hours it is, there's always good times to be had across the board. I remember the last one with nearly on pace, the 24 hours of Red Bull Ring, I think it was. We all ended up feeding ChatGPT various things to coach each other around the circuit in various styles of characters. We ended up with Kermit the Frog coaching me through a fast lap at Red Bull Ring. I think we put resident conspiracy theorist Alex Jones into how to drive a lap of the Red Bull Ring in his tone or in his style of writing. It got rather delirious, rather silly, and it was a good giggle all the way around. This man on your screen, though, Philip Brewster, literally untouchable, I think, in this. He's almost pulled a Louis Curtin from last week, but in the LMGT3 class. We've not really seen him. We've not really spoke about him. And
He's
normally
got a
in the
massive
nicest
gap.
way, Ted, that is when you're on top form, when the broadcast don't really mention you, we don't really look
Yeah.
at you. And in the end, we check in with you, and suddenly, like you say, we're quite a way away from the next nearest car of James Cowley, behind, who's up 3 positions. I mean,
Yeah, I was just
even
about to
James
say.
Cowley has had a rather good race given his qualifying position. Of course, Christopher Streppen, 6 places up. He is just in the back of shot, as we have a look there. He is coming through, so this could come down to the wire. It's going to be a close one, but I don't think Verstappen's going to have enough in him. And Harry Conway calling you out in the YouTube chat, Ted. Apparently, he loved it, absolutely loved it, when Ted used all the X at Daytona and left us with barely any for the end.
Yeah, that's a good story. We got 44 seconds left on the clock. Whereas Louis, so I can tell my story.
It's another lap, Ted. You got time.
So yeah, we did Daytona this year, I believe, and we chose the LMP2, and it's had a huge nerf because of real life as well. A lot of downforce taken off. It drives horribly. Hate it so much. But Stewie only drives the LMP2, so we chose it. Me and Stewie drove the car like we thought it drove, like before. Wasn't very good. Daytona chicane, the bus stop, where we picked up most of our X's. Me and Stewie got them all the way up to about 90x or more, and handed the car off to Billy, I believe it was Billy and Harry Conway at the time. And we just walked away and went for a sleep.
You said bye, have a great time.
Yep,
and that's where it all unraveled in the night, I'm guessing.
Well, I believe we finished on 99x, and I think we finished second in the end, unfortunately, again for like the 2nd year now. Still not won Daytona, won Sebring, won Spa in the GT3. Nors is difficult, so that's a really accomplishment to win. But won Watkins, I believe. You know, won most of them. Just Daytona, which we're all very good at. It's very simple as long as you have, you know, traffic management, and it's still not won. So we're hopefully hunt for that one next year again. But yeah. X's in iRacing and Track Limits here is a bit different. I think these guys have 3 points, and depending on how severe you cut the corner or leave the track, depends on how much of a penalty you get. So I think you can go all the way up to like a 3 penalty if you cut like the whole S's, then it's like a big severe one, maybe even like a stop and go rather than a penalty. But I do like the track limit system in this game. You know, it feels sensible compared to iRacing, which can be very harsh. But yeah, LMU is so much fun. But here we come, John, coming up to the last 2 corners now. Louis Curtin, Mr. Untouchable, same as Philip.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you here. Louis Curtin is going to be your race winner, and a little bit of traffic ahead. He doesn't go for the move, and Louis Curtin goes 2 for 2 in the multi-sprint season 2 championship. Martin Vaselli put up a very valiant effort, but unfortunately just wasn't enough to beat the young Belgian driver. Max Sunyaev, absolutely electric pace from the get-go, went like a stab rat, managed to fend off the majority of the hypercar field, but some bad tyre choices unfortunately lost him time in the mid-game, and P3. Fingers crossed if he gets through the last remainders of the traffic. Frank Forrest there moving way offline, trying to gift him the corner, but unfortunately the wet conditions pushing Sunyaev out wide. And it is Max Sunyaev to wind out your podium here today at COTA. P3 for the BMW driver. And that's going to be a good haul of championship points to boot.
We got to wait for Philip.
LMGT3. We're going to have to wait a while indeed, Ted. We're going to have to wait a while indeed. But Ryan Gill up 7 positions,
Yeah,
blinder of a strategy, and kept the Aston Martin in a straight line. P4 for Ryan Gill here in the LMU Championship. Marco Badowski, P5, stayed where he qualified. So captain consistency, P5 in qualifying, P5 in the race. Martin Mares, 2 positions up where he started in the only Toyota of the field. Once again, a good oddball pit car and a good effort from the driver there. P6, even after the long stint on the wet tyres, really threw the curveball on the strategy here. Reese Wilkinson just ahead, Iridius Partes. He'll come through in P11, and Reese Wilkinson manages a P7 overall on that one. And that's the majority, I think, of the hypercar class finished as your race winner from LMGT3, Philip Brewster for the Brabham Esports Camp. Poles it, wins it. It's a good haul of points after the bad luck last time at Spa. And I think James Cowley, looking at this, down into turn number 19 for the Onid Lamborghini. Looking very good all race. Relatively, again, we've not heard much from him. We've not seen a lot from him. And it's a very different story to the beginning at Spa. P2 for James Cowley. Fends off Christoph Verstappen. Up 6 positions. Another valiant effort from the Belgian driver there. And a flash of the lights and a wiggle from James Cowley. I think that's GG's all around, if I understand race car language. And that, I think, winds out your round here at the circuit of the Americas. Very, very tricky race, Ted. We saw drivers struggling in qualifying and some continuing their struggles through the race. But nevertheless, a very good race had by all. And your final results on the screen at the moment. It was, of course, Louis Curtin that we just witnessed. A very good drive from the get-go. Martin Vaselli stuck with him, and Max Sunuev winding out the podium. Ryan Gill, of course, just outside the podium. Great finish from him. As Ted, thank you very much for moving that down. And if I'm reading that right, the 2 top drivers had the exact
Oh my
same
God, I
best
didn't
lap.
real.
Best lap,
Oh.
158.389. It's a rarity that it happens, but
Mm,
sometimes it does in sim racing. And when you factor in all the variables in hardware, computers, racing line, eyesight, hand-eye coordination, every variable you have in a human, and we still managed to get the exact same best lap time out of these drivers. That is absolutely insane, and
that
it
is
boggles
mad.
my mind every time it happens. But Max Sunuev, fastest driver on the grid, 157.893 in a completely different class once he got onto those dry tires. Unfortunately, too little, too late. And very unfortunate, 2 DNFs in the hypercar class. We had Matthew Malcolm, and we also had Zeno van Drijscher in that one from a PC crash. So majority, 13 out of the 15 drivers finishing in the hypercar class. As we flip to a much larger
Oh,
grid, 19 drivers in the LMGT3 class and a much higher rate of attrition, as you can see there. Ryan Walker, we missed that one. That was a DNF for the Mercedes driver. Raphael Huell, we saw him have a pedal disconnect, very valiantly avoiding the back of Voister Rybecki's BMW. Theobald Roskam, no word on him. Martin Lawrence got coated. I'm gonna coin that phrase. If you do dislike COTA, you have a bad race, you have been coated. So there's that one for you. Matt Townsend, again, not sure what happened with him. And Lance Taylor was the first retiree in the LMGT3 category. No exact same best lap times, unfortunately, across this one, but a very dominant performance from Philip Brewster at the top there. James Cowley, P2, and Christoph Verstappen in P3. So it's been a bit of a weird beginning, I'm going to say, Ted. Of course, we've done round 1, we've done round 2, and very different top steps of the podiums and very different outcomes for a few drivers. We, of course, saw Martin Lawrence kind of do the last to first in Spa. This time, qualified well, didn't have a great race. Christoph Verstappen, again, capped in consistency across the board. Louis Curtin didn't look too good in the mid stages of this race, but certainly clawed it back in the end with a good choice of strategy. So what this says is it, LMU is just one of those games that you can't call at the moment as everybody begins to find their feet. It's just one giant learning curve for everyone.
yeah, and it's nice to see how people are reacting to the weather, the cars, and obviously the Aston V12 for hypercar going in. People are struggling with it, but they're still doing good results from it. Obviously, of the people who are just used to the cars they've been driving. Louis Curtin, for instance, just well, I think they're in the Ferrari, I believe. So they're used to that car. I think a lot of people are used to the Ferrari. Shame people aren't driving the Cadillac, but I feel like the bop isn't there for it at the moment. Unfortunately, hopefully they get to change that because we like to see some V8s go raw around the tracks here. We have at LMU, but I think Dalton, we have race winner in GT3 waiting.
We do indeed. We have Philip Brewster joining us for his race winning interview. First of all, Philip, congratulations. First win, I'm going to say, for Brabham under your belt. Looked very tricky out there, but, what a way to take a win.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, first win under Brabham colors in GT3. And yeah, super happy with this result because this was tricky one.
Say conditions looked a little bit kind of questionable. I'm going to say at the start of the race, myself and Ted were up here guessing how kind of damp or wet the track was. We saw drivers basically rolling the dice, I think, with their strategy. Did you have any kind of insight into how the weather was going to portray? I mean, we saw a lot of the LMGT3 drivers stuck with the wet tire. I don't think we saw too many, adopting that dry tire. Where, as in the hypercars, we saw lots of dry tires in the mid stage, and again, everybody jumped back on wets at the end.
Yeah, there was always drizzle and there was like 5 lap window where was it without the rain. But yeah, it was whole race drizzle and yeah, tires were melting whole race.
So it's a very tricky set of conditions. Indeed. Of course, last time at Spa, not the best result, but this time certainly have turned it kind of on its head. Are you still thinking you're going to be in the run for the championship come towards the end of the season?
After the Spa, I must say I'm out of the championship because I cannot attend for the last race. So yeah, I'm out of the championship.
Say not what we like to hear, but it's going to be interesting to see where you do finish once we do, of course, hit the final round. That's Bahrain, October 31st, ready for spooky season of Halloween. So quite a long way yet to go. So if you are looking for a long-standing LMU championship, head on over to the website, get involved in this one. Philip, before we let you go tonight, anyone you'd like to say thank you to or give a shout out to?
Shout out to my teammates who prepared the setup because the setup was amazing. We were testing that setup for the 6 hour race, the official one, and it worked perfectly even in the mixed conditions. So super happy for that and super grateful that Brabham can make setup like that. So thank you so much.
So big props to Brabham there, and a big congratulations once again, Philip, to your race win. We'll let him go for the evening as we begin to, of course, wind down tonight's show. Don't forget, tomorrow, RCI TV, we are back with you once again. That's going to be for the RSS Endurance Series over on iRacing, 5 hours of Road Atlanta. You can join myself, Ted, and I think the two Callums on the schedule as we take you from green to checker. For the first time ever, also in RCI history, we have RCI Bingo for tomorrow. So it's all operated through Disc or your Discord account through an external website. So we'll give you more details on that tomorrow as we work our way towards the checker flag and potentially a bingo. Monday, of course, begins the Audi Academy over on ACC. Sign up still open for that one. Shortened race length down to 40 minutes now rather than the traditional hour. So again, that cuts down the Monday evening a little bit more. Signups are also on the website for the prototype sprint series featuring the brand new ELMS machinery, the LMP2 and LMP3. 6 rounds, classic 1 hour races, and a calendar packed with big and small circuits that will really test your traffic management skills. And I think, other than the partners that have been revolving around in the top right hand side of the screen, of course, Ready Set Sim, Coach Dave Delta, Greenman Gaming, Motor Racing, Pimax, and lastly but no means least, we are a Motorsport UK esports recommended community. Something quite prestigious, I think, to get as a community our size. So, a big thank you to you guys if you've watched at home. A big thank you to you guys if you are, of course, watching back the broadcast and you've made it this far. Thank you very much indeed. Of course, next week we head to Monza That is going to be on October 3rd, same time, same place. Fingers crossed we can bring you a broadcast on that one. As I mentioned earlier on, the RSS Endurance Series coming to you tomorrow. Join us on RCI TV for that one. And from myself, Ted Edwards, alongside me, thank you very much for watching. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening. And we hope to see you tomorrow around midday UK time as we get the final round of the RSS Endurance Series underway on iRacing. Take care.